Hello, Nicotine. I wanted to answer you. Yes, first of all, the word nature, if you take it in a too pure of a sense, is not a proper distinction. We are of nature, anything we do. Now, nature does have certain patterns it tends to, exhibit living things, put off chemicals largely, and are made of chemicals that are edible to other things and so on like this, but they also do put off toxins and whatnot. So even that is going to be natural, okay, when humans do it. However, there is a practical meaning to the distinction because if we want to know what our impact is on the world around us, then we need this distinction. And calling it natural just in that practical sense and nature, just like you noticed, you put yourself in a natural setting, that's fine. And in fact, even if we have a city park that might be 100 years old and the trees were all planted over the 100 years, and you know if you are recording it there, that passes as a natural setting as well, even though it's not literally untouched. And in that sense, it's not going to be anything literally untouched either, in the sense that when you breathe, you expel oxygen that mixes up and touches all over the whole world. But we're not talking about just the rare fact of having had an effect, or the simple fact that man is a part of nature too, but looking at this distinction about man. Now, when you say there's a lot of pointless destruction in nature, I don't really see that. Because if something is eaten, and that's the picture you show, is a gazelle or something being eaten by a crocodile, and that obviously had a point. That's a meal for a crocodile. Now that might seem harsh, but that's the kind of back and forth that we have in a biosphere in order to have the flexibility to live off of all sorts of situations. Higher level animals can survive climate change because there's lower level animals that thrive in different climates. And by lower level, I mean just in this pyramid of predation, not in any sense of superiority other than who eats who. Um, so, yeah, I don't think that's pointless. You could say maybe if a mountain goat slips and hurts itself falling off a mountain, that's somewhat pointless. Um, but then again, the goat was on the mountain for a reason. He benefits, and by doing so, he takes this risk. And when the risk, you know, calls in the debt, then you can't say it didn't have a point. The point was all the time it didn't happen. And similarly for other tragedies. And again, the acts of man can be a good example. There was a YouTube video where some forest personnel were trying to scare, or were scaring a buffalo herd off of private property. Ironically, it was on private property where there were signs posted to leave the buffalo alone. But they were using helicopters to do this, among other things, and they scared the buffalo, and a little baby buffalo got trampled and its leg got broken. It was really um, sad, and if it was graphic, you could see how broken it was. It wasn't going to make it. And that seems kind of pointless. But again, this is from the lifestyle and from everything that happened. We would call that pointless, mostly because whatever point there was to the buffalo taking a risk, uh, it wasn't just a risk of nature like falling off a cliff. It was by another animal. And so we have to ask, well, what was the point that we did it? And I think there was a point of why humans did it. And there was even a good intention, actually, to protect the buffalo and keep them on the reserves. Um, but it went wrong. A point can be negative. People can, there's a point to the things that, Nazis do, and it's just a very bad point, a negative point. Now, why would we protect tigers? Well, first of all, these are living creatures with personalities, right? They have individuality. They have personalities. And I think that they need to be protected the same way. Just like you don't ask, well, why not kill one man if society is going to remain intact? Well, because there's an individual right to things that have, sentience. And that's the main reason. In terms of morally. In terms of practically, we don't know how to save species yet. We need to learn how to preserve species, and the way to do that is to try to preserve them all and slow the whole thing down. We don't know exactly which of these final bricks will cause the whole system to collapse catastrophically to some very basic level. We just don't know that. And so, we should be trying to save all of these species and preserve everything. And once we actually know how to make these desires real, to raise or lower, the population of some kind of creature, then we can make those decisions. Then we can ask ourselves, should we eradicate the mosquito? And uh, but until then, I mean, we need to do more of that. We're not knowledgeable enough to really say that how it'll affect the whole world. Because true that each of these is a small thing, but there's been a lot of destruction, as we all admit and realize, and so you don't know the straw that's going to break the camel's back. Um, but yeah, we have to remember the sentience and value of a living being, and why we would want to make sure that it doesn't die at our hands. Uh, and at this point, it's hard to know with the anything happening on this planet if it is or isn't, humans' fault. Beyond that, I really think there's a value to the diversity, and maybe the aesthetic, as you said, of life. And so I think there's reason even to preserve it. So let's say some population was going to be wiped out by a tsunami. You might want to rescue those and preserve that species, the last of some kind of animal on Earth. If you can, you would want to do that. And who knows, maybe indirectly the reason that's the last of that species is because of something man did it to it elsewhere. And finally, we are a part of nature. And so what is our role in nature? I feel, okay, I'm related to human beings. I'm in a society. That makes sense. I want to look out for human beings when it does, become difficult between us and, mosquitoes or whatever. But, I feel the same way about other animals. I share, huge amounts of DNA even with bananas and plants and trees. We share a lot of DNA. We're all cousins. And to me, it feels natural to want to take some role in that whole, especially since I think I'm one of the few creatures that really conceives of it this way, that realizes just how related we are. I think a lot of animals get the gist of it, but we are really amazingly able now to intellectually, not just feel it maybe spiritually, like on a when you feel it level, but also to add just total cognition of the facts of the matter, that there's DNA relating us, and this is what explains a lot of the symbiotic nature of nature, and symbiotic even when it's really things we don't call symbiotic, like predation, but there's still this cyclic system where life goes on. Both the predator and the prey manage to live on. The prey has also evolved defenses, which include being preyed upon. Herd animals have evolved strategies that include the fact that some of them are going to get called from the herd. So sad as it is, it does work in nature. So we fit into nature, and I think that mankind, there's a danger that we'll play God, but I think the danger of us playing God over nature is when we want to just do the Hoover Dam stuff, which I think is good to have. Massive engineering is fine, but when that's all we're doing, then it's like, oh, don't play God, because we're just stomping over it. But if we really get a more balanced hand at this and skill, then I think mankind can do things, in nature. And in fact, I think we should have a huge, restoration project in this nation where we clean up all the Superfund sites. We do things like take down the dam at Hetch Hetchy and restore that and have a restoration economy and know how to do restoration, because then, of course, we'll know how not to make a mess in the first place, at least by doing instant restoration. As soon as you use a chemical that's dangerous, you clean it up right away. Don't let it get into the environment. So, anyway, very nice setting.